The X-Men force was home to dozens of mutants that used their unique powers in the aid of regular humans and to harbor peace between the two groups. While everyone within the X-Men held a power that was distinct from a fellow member, perhaps the most unique member of the entire organization was ForgetMeNot, also known as Nobody and Nothing Man. His mutation caused people to completely forget of his existence the very moment they lay eyes off of him. Any memories of him, or even his presence within the area, were wiped clean. Even mechanical devices had trouble sensing him, as once a targeting machine was unable to keep track of ForgetMeNot, as it kept detecting that no one was in front of its sensors. He was quite unfortunate with his power, however, in that he was unable to control it, so that every single person, whether he wanted to or not, would fully forget about him the moment he left their field of view. Despite even being a member of the X-Men for over 6 years, there were members who he served with for years that didn't even realize he was a senior member who had been with them the entire time. Also, the defenses of the current base that the X-Men were using would sometimes confuse ForgetMeNot as an enemy, as within their records, he didn't exist within the X-Men registry. It got to the point where Professor X had to place a psychic reminder within his own mind to remind him of who ForgetMeNot was every single hour, so that he could actually consider him for missions. Obviously, this unique mutation severely limited ForgetMeNot's ability to socialize and make proper long-lasting relationships. Because of this, he eventually fell into a deep depression and for a time sought ways to remove his powers so that he could live a normal life. Over time, however, he changed his mind, as he convinced himself he could do so much good for the world with his unique power, even though he would go unnoticed. This led him to later say, "It's better to do something that matters and not be noticed than the other way around." Now comes the hard part, actually doing something that matters. While ForgetMeNot's existence was removed from all those who stopped looking at him, there were small ways to notice him and get around his power. While he himself was forgotten, his actions to the physical world still remained intact. He could be tracked down by tracing down his interactions of physical materials, like his usage of supplies or interactions with doors and vehicles. On top of that, there were at times when video cameras that took notice of him would flicker in the footage of when he appeared, even though they didn't actually capture his body. A few other beings, like Charlie Cluster 7, were able to use some of their own powers to remember ForgetMeNot, but usually only for a limited amount of time. In the end, ForgetMeNot eventually joined X-Force and helped them defeat Phantom X.